Hello, and at long last, welcome back to the NMMA. This begins Season 6, which is the 2015-16 season, and so that means we have completed 5 and we have 10 remaining. We are officially at the 1/3 mark through the league. So congratulations to everybody who stuck around thus far. So there's a couple of updates for the biggest things that have happened since the last video. The Suns traded third place clutch player of the year, Kendall Marshall, to the Atlanta Hawks for a massive haul, bringing in Al Jefferson, Oscar Schmidt Jr., and Jeff Teague all to pair with Dwayne Wade and hopefully go for a little run. That Suns team is looking to improve and will probably be a strong playoff team in the West, which is amazing to think. Also, the Lakers are now under new management and have already made a couple of deals around the edges. Luke has officially taken over the most villainous team in the entire league, so excited to see where he takes it. And the biggest news, the Orlando Magic, after winning their second championship of the NMMA and going to their 4th straight finals, have officially blown up their core, going underneath the luxury tax and moving Carmelo Anthony, Kevin Love, and Al-Farouq Aminu for Josh Smith and Brandon Jennings. Kind of retooling, just dropping under that luxury tax just by a little bit, but nevertheless, still probably a little bit of a downgrade, and going to be very interested to see where Bihar can take this team. So, without further ado, let's jump in and take a look at the rosters for attributes. The 76ers did not make any major moves over the offseason. They did re-sign Brook Lopez, keeping their core together after a very impressive first-round matchup against the Atlanta Hawks that ended with an incredibly cold Mike Conley 3 from like almost the logo. It was an amazing moment. The Milwaukee Bucks signed Kevin Garnett. Had some good progression for Chris Middleton, as well as Thanasis Antetokounmpo from the Minutes Qualified event. Chicago Bulls brought back DeAndre Jordan and Rajon Rondo. Offseason very easily could have gone sideways if they'd lost either of them, but I think that they're going to be improving, and after a year of chemistry under their belts, I think that they're probably going to be the 5 seed in the East. Cleveland Cavaliers, no major changes. Made a great draft pick in TJ McConnell, though, who will be an amazing backup point guard for them eventually. St. Vincent St. Mary Fighting Irish, they brought back Amari Stoudemire. Grizzlies drafted Roy McCormick, who is looking to be quite the prospect. The Atlanta Hawks, as you can see in the top right, have just rebranded, as have my Houston Rockets, just with a little bit of updated branding and logo, court, and jerseys and whatnot. They also traded for Kevin Love, moving Brandon Jennings. So they have a stellar front court now between Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard, and Kevin Love. The Hornets still in their dark era, but had a good minutes qualified event for Alan Forbes. Not that much regression for Darren Williams. Very curious to see if he ends the season in Charlotte or not. Sacramento Kings made their trade for Rudy Gay in the offseason, as well as Andrew Bynum, who unfortunately regressed a little bit, but still will be very serviceable as a backup center. New York Knicks continue to tweak in their rebuild. The newly managed Luke team, the Los Angeles Lakers. A lot of alliteration there. Ajinça progged another 1. Very curious to see what his vision is going to be for this team. As you can see, a lot of negative morale here from the Magic. That's, of course, due to their change in chemistry, but this team is going to work it out and do just fine. They have an extremely strong starting 5 still with Ricky Rubio. I don't know who's going to play the 2. I'm curious if it's going to be Brandon Jennings or Tyreke Evans, and then Iggy, Josh Smith, and Biyombo, of course. So still going to be a contending team in that top 4 tier of the Eastern Conference. Dallas Mavericks drafted Devin Booker. Had some good progression for Otto Porter and brought in David West for cash considerations. So they could be a little bit better this year. Curious to see if they can be a play-in team or if it's too early in Booker's development. The Denver Nuggets, after much hoopla, ended up bringing back Derrick Rose, signing him to a 3+1 contract, I believe. So that ended what could have been a very big shakeup for the league. The Indiana Pacers not only drafted Karl-Anthony Towns to be the power forward next to Nikola Jokic, just an incredible offensive front court pairing, but they also traded Josh Smith for Carmelo Anthony. So this is going to be a dynamite offense. Very curious to see if they have what it takes to bring Carmelo Anthony back to a deep playoff run or not. Maybe a couple of years of progression before they're at that point. Pelicans had some modest prog for Beal and Lillard, but they're already performing amazing. Probably going to be using this season to build out a little bit around their big three. Pistons had some okay prog for Capella. The Raptors, Clint Flores, Valanciunas, and Harrison Barnes all looking great as their young core. Ginobili was just signed there as well, so he'll be a good mentor and probably starting point guard for them. My Rockets shook things up just a little bit. We ended up cutting ties with Quinn Carl and drafted both Emmanuel Mudiay and what was his name? Yeah, Nick Landry. You see the rebranding in the top right. Go with that ketchup and mustard, both the Atlanta Hawks and myself. The Spurs had an amazing minutes qualified event for Jeremy Grant, which undid his unfortunate incoming rookie event pretty much. I think that he ends up with just minus one potential combined between the two events. So that is great news for him. It goes to show how much the minutes qualified events can help a team. If you have a rookie that you really want to progress, play him over 26 minutes, and who knows, he may end up getting hit by one of these events. The new look Phoenix Suns, this is going to be the team to watch. Very curious to see what their ceiling is. I think that they could end up a top 4 team. I don't know that they're going to be better than the Kings. I do think they're going to be better than the Jazz, though. So, great pairing here with Dwayne Wade and Al Jefferson, and not to mention Oscar Schmidt hitting a lot of threes. Supersonics brought in D'Angelo Russell. They have a very bright future ahead of them, especially with their Hornets picks. Thunder signed Matthew Mayer, who has supposedly very high potential. We'll see how that ends up working out. Shane's Timberwolves didn't make any major moves over the offseason, but can't blame him because, 3 seed with this strong of a defense, I think they'll be looking to have a pretty good season ahead of them. I think they did draft Josh Richardson, though, who's a great fit for them. Portland Trailblazers had a very good offseason. Traded for Bogdan Bogdanovic, and then he got a minutes qualified event. Shabazz Muhammad had, I think, okay progression. Actually, maybe not. But Brevin Baker up to an 86, looking great in his three-point shot after the chaos event that happened in the middle of last season. Norm Hickman up to an 84. This team could be fairly competitive all of a sudden. I expect them to make the play-in. The Warriors did not have any regression from Dirk Nowitzki, which is very nice. Klay Thompson up to an 87. This team also absolutely should at least be a play-in team. We have just a lot of really good deep teams. And the Wizards rounding it out. Joel Embiid up to an 81 only. But he had a great rookie season. Okay. So now let's take a look at cap tables. Let me make sure that the salary cap is turned off. Oops. Yes. Okay. So please be make sure to be updating your sheet. It's most important to update it after the Sim 3 video because that's going to be what's used to calculate the cap space and the off season. But it's always good to do it throughout the season so that there's less work to do at the end of the season. You see the new Rondo and DeAndre Jordan contracts here. Big bucks, especially for Rondo. Getting the 5-year max. Fighting Irish did exercise their bird rights on Amari Stoudemire to sign him to the backloaded contract, which very important to remember that those are going to be extremely rare. You can only get that when you have full bird rights on a player. And be very cautious with when you exercise those rights because we are not going to be having the salary cap go up any longer. We are at a point where it has ideally transitioned just enough, and there are enough flat contracts and we have raised the cap enough already that we don't think there's going to be a lot of teams that are excessively over the cap. If anything, we have a ton of teams with cap space right now. And so this is going to allow us to not have any of the issues with a poorly scaled max contract and not outpace the game of increasing the salary cap above what the game will allow us to by too much. So buckle up because that, 83.64 million salary cap that we have, that is what we're going to have for the next 10 seasons. Of course, this always can't be negotiated if there's a problem, but I think that we've reached a good point of equilibrium. Lakers, amazingly, still just under the salary cap. Curious to see if they sign any free agents. Or could use that probably more so in trades. Jonas Valanciunas' new contract. Basically a rookie scale max. Lord knows he has been worth it so far, though. A lot of dead cap for the Wizards. Okay, now let's take a look at draft picks. This is up to date with the recent three-way trade that happened between the 76ers, Lakers, and Knicks. Remember, we have 2 more years of drafts where the names are mismatched on the Trailblazers and the Fighting Irish. So if you have a 2016 or a 2017 Fighting Irish or Trailblazers pick, make sure that you're factoring in that the name that is listed in the video is going to be opposite from what the actual pick is. But then 2018 and onwards, the names will match. A lot of seconds here for the Nets. They could probably package some of those for a late first. Ton of picks for the Supersonics. Those Hornets picks, that is going to truly be a bellwether of what the next 5 to 10 years are going to look like in the league. Because if they hit big time, whew, watch out for that Supersonics team. Okay, now let's take a look at power rankings. Of course, always take this with a big grain of salt. The initial power rankings are oftentimes pretty off. That being said, some of these top teams are pretty good. I think the Jazz are kind of high. Lakers might be a touch high. Grizzlies definitely a little bit high. But, the rest of the top half seems fairly reasonable. And now let's take a look at system proficiencies. Okay. Now we're going to look at coach progression just to see if there has been any. Please take note if any of your coaches are in the final year of their contract. So after position, if it says 1 year, then you'll be allowed to extend your coach for up to 4 years, 4 years total on the contract, so up to a 3-year extension. Seems we didn't have any, I don't think. And for coach candidates, we'll go first by offense. And now by defense. Remember that you can make offers for either your head or assistant coach if you were to clear the slot. And all of those offers, whether it's for a free agent, which is the next chapter that we'll cover, or for your coaches, can be put in the in-season free agency channel in Discord. Okay. And finally, let's take a look at free agents. Varejao is a pretty good free agent to be leading the list here. Shout out to Amir Johnson and Marvin Williams, all very worthwhile players as well. Ilyasova, pretty good stretch 4. Taj Gibson, some good defense off the bench. Jeremy Holden looks pretty promising as a 21-year-old. You know, there are some okay options here. Quinn Carl, now a G League player. Shout out the X-Rocket. Honestly seems like a bust. Okay, that'll wrap that up. So, we are probably going to have the first deadline on Thursday evening. That remains a little bit TBD. I need to speak with the other mods about who can run the first sim. But until then, happy signing, happy trading.